Moving on, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa will not attend the UN General Assembly meeting in New York later this month. Instead, he says he will stay in the country to focus on critical domestic issues, including the recent spate of xenophobic violence and the spate of attacks on women, as well as the recent attacks on foreigners and their property. There is growing concern in South Africa about violence against women following a number of high-profile rape cases and murders. Mr. Ramaphosa has promised a series of measures to tackle the crisis, including making public a register of offenders, increasing the number of dedicated sexual offences courts, and harsher sentences. Meanwhile, the chairman Nigeria Governors Forum, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, believes South African authorities need to do more to pacify keen observers of the xenophobic developments in the country. Mr. Fayemi recalls the role played by Nigerians and other Africans towards liberating South Africans in their days of struggle, adding that such should be mirrored. To him, showing aggression and putting a uniform tag of criminality on all foreigners in South Africa is an error of judgment which smacks of ignorance and ingratitude. He, however, also calls for caution in the clamour by some protesters that Nigeria should cut ties with the country.
Leaders in South Africa need to really demonstrate that they actually understand what Africans are saying to them. South Africa is not an island. South Africa is part of a continent that has responsibilities and roles. And part of the responsibilities and roles are to one another. Yes, you can say that some Africans are misbehaving. That may be true, but that's why you have a law enforcement agency. You cannot tie everybody with the same brush. Not every Nigerian who is in South Africa is a criminal. Not every Nigerian who is in South Africa is there illegally. So if you have people that are flouting the rules and regulations and the laws of the country, the weight of the law should be brought against such people. Apprehend them, interdict them, convict them within the law. Bring it to the notice of the Nigerian government. But you cannot allow indiscriminate self-help.
Still in South Africa, hundreds of protesters wearing black have marched on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, demanding that listed companies do more to end gender-based violence in the country. The activists also wrote a document called the Sandton Shutdown Statement, in which they demand that corporations amend their sexual harassment policies and contribute at least 2% of their annual earnings to addressing the scourge of violence against women and children. Our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia, has more.
The protest march didn't start today. It had been taken to Parliament and to every police station in the country. But today, it shut down the country's richest square mile, Sandton. It wasn't all song and dance. The liberation songs, the placards, and the props spoke for many not present or long dead.
We submitted 24 demands to the government. Those demands outline a plan to actually help fight the scourge of gender-based violence. Many of those demands are extremely low-hanging fruits. And as a result, we do not understand why, over 365 days later, we have not seen any of those demands being fully achieved.
For the men and women present at the protest, the worry is the same.
We feel that this occasion today will actually sensitize those that are responsible, that are accountable for this nation, the politicians, the business South Africa. And we hope for change, and change is now. This is a new dawn, and change is now.
This will be a collective thing. It's just not like, okay, now women should do this. It's not a matter of telling women this is how they should. It's a matter of also men knowing this is how they should also act.
I think it has to start with how we raise our kids. I think there's no such thing as boys will be boys. There's no excusing that sort of behavior. I think things need to change.
The hashtag Sandton Shutdown comes just a day after the police department released the latest crime statistics. This showed that 2,771 women were murdered in the country in the year before March 2019. 21,022 murders in total, 736 of these by children. In the same period, 52,420 sexual offences were recorded, an increase of 4.6%. 114 rape cases were reported daily on average. The protesters look to government and beyond, especially the home, over the worrisome figures.
All men, even perpetrators, they are the son of somebody, they are the brother of somebody. I mean, they're not strangers.
We feel South Africa is a war zone because women die on a daily basis. And we are saying government must work together and work with a civil society. There is a lot of experience in the civil society.
Beyond government also, the protesters look to the corporate world to play a part in wiping gender-based violence out of their lives. The JSE CEO, Nikki Newton-King, received their memorandum of demands and promised to respond to their demands in 7 days after consultations with listed companies. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
Away from South Africa, the Kenyan government has added the world's first malaria vaccine to the routine immunization scheduled for children under 2, becoming the 3rd country in Africa to roll out the vaccine. Malaria is a top killer of children under 5 in the East African nation, and the vaccine is critically important to its efforts to combat the disease because other measures, such as mosquito nets, have not proven adequate. African nations, Ghana and Malawi, launched their pilot programs of the vaccine earlier this year. Global health experts say malaria can be eradicated within a generation. The report commissioned by the Lancet Medical Journal contradicts the conclusions of a malaria review by the World Health Organization last month. Still ahead, our Africa Tech segment takes a look at the benefits of big data analytics for businesses. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.